Hey YouTube, Joyboy here. So, today I want to talk about Charlotte Katakuri and his devil fruit powers. But before we get into the video, I want to let you guys know about One Piece AMINO, who have kindly sponsored this video. One Piece AMINO is a free to download and use app that allows you to connect with fellow One Piece fans from across the world, and is a great place to share your theories, amazing artwork videos, and just blog about the series. One Piece AMINO has been one of the very best One Piece communities that you can join for a while now, and they continue to get better, recently unveiling the shared folder, which is basically like an Instagram, completely devoted to One Piece related photos, gifs, and videos. And as of the past few days, they were very excited to release an awesome new voice chat feature. But yeah guys, links as always for AMINO will be in the description, and don't forget to follow me. And so guys, let's talk about Charlotte Katakuri. And so Charlotte Katakuri was initially introduced and revealed to have a Logia devil fruit, the Mochi Logia devil fruit. And this was the case in the Shonen Jump release. However, when it came to the volume release, where they compile a bunch of the One Piece chapters, this detail about Jinbei saying that Katakuri had a Logia devil fruit changed. It changed to a special paramecia. And so a lot of people weren't exactly excited about this news. Some people thought that it made more sense for him to be a special paramecia rather than a Logia, because Mochi is not a natural element, and we were kind of given the impression that Logias were all, like snow or fire or magma or ice, not some sort of food such as Mochi. But at the same time, you had to wonder, with this change in the detail, would something actually change about his powers? And so it's pretty clear that Oda initially intended for Katakuri to be a Logia type. As far as that we can tell, all of Katakuri's revealed abilities are pretty much the same as a Logia. What differentiates Logia devil fruits to others is that a Logia devil fruit user, their body transforms or becomes whatever they are, whatever the devil fruit ability is, and they are also able to produce the same substance. This is to differentiate paramecia types such as Magellan, the Poison Man, or Treble, the Booger Man, I guess, who their bodies did not get changed into, for instance, in Magellan's case, poison. He had a normal body. He was just able to produce poisons. But Logias become this and produce it. And so going back to Katakuri, despite him no longer being classified as a Logia, it's very clear that his body is made of Mochi, and he can also, in various ways, produce this. And so what many people were hoping is that the only reason for this classification change on Katakuri's abilities is that he was not a natural element, that everything else is very consistent with a Logia. Essentially, he has a Logia devil fruit, but because it's not a natural element, it's just called something else. But this also breeded a number of very strange speculations about what Katakuri's powers could be. Basically, people ask the question, how could a paramecia look like a Logia without being a Logia and without having the powers of a Logia? And so my initial thought, guys, was that perhaps awakening is in play here. That Katakuri's devil fruit didn't start off as having Logia-like capabilities, but rather those were abilities granted to him from his awakening. We don't know a lot about awakenings. In fact, we hardly have enough to speculate anything. But what we do know from the case of Doflamingo is that Doflamingo didn't always have the ability to transform the world around him into strings. All he could do was produce strings himself. But once he awakened, his powers had a whole new scale. And so guys, if it was possible for all paramecia type devil fruits to awaken in the same way as Doflamingo, I wouldn't really talk about it as much. But for some devil fruits that you can imagine, it's just straight impossible for them to turn the world around them into their devil fruit ability. Think of someone like Admiral Fujitora, who has the Hax Gravity devil fruit. How exactly would he turn the world around him into gravity? It doesn't make sense. So from this alone, you could speculate that perhaps different classes of devil fruits have different kinds of awakenings, or perhaps specific devil fruits each have unique awakenings. This leads into a whole bunch of theories surrounding what Monkey D. Luffy or Luffy's awakening would be. And so this is kind of where I want to talk about this as well. This is really, really interesting, which is Katakuri and Luffy have very similar devil fruits, as pointed out by Carrot in this last chapter. If we say that the reason behind Katakuri's abilities looking so much like a Logia is because of his awakening, then you could wonder if Katakuri's Devil Fruit ability started off to be very similar to Luffy himself. Luffy ate the Gomu Gomu no Mi, which turned him into a rubber man, so maybe Katakuri initially ate a fruit that turned him into Mochi. And because of the properties of Mochi, Katakuri's fighting style would have been very similar to Luffy's, but with less emphasis on elasticity, which is the case with Luffy's fruit, and more emphasis on being sticky. So this would almost make Katakuri's Devil Fruit ability the superior version of Luffy's, because as we know, Luffy's body is altered such that he is pretty much immune to blunt force. Now, this isn't the case when you add Haki into it, but if early on in the series someone punched him or someone shot him, it would just bounce off. This same concept would be true of Katakuri if his body was just made out of Mochi. However, Luffy's greatest weakness earlier on in the series was that of slashing attacks, because once you slash rubber, it isn't meant to come back together, so that could actually injure Luffy. But in the case of Mochi, if you slash Mochi, its property is stickiness, so you slash it and then it would just come back together, back to how it was before. And this all seems to add up pretty nicely. The only thing that we're left wanting is Katakuri's ability to seemingly produce more of himself. Which is what we can see that he does when he attempts to capture Luffy from showing Big Mom the portrait of Mother Carmel, the broken portrait of Mother Carmel. And so this could, as stated before, be some relation to awakening, that once he awakened his devil fruits, then he can produce more of himself, or potentially manipulate his Mochi body in ways that weren't possible beforehand. If all of this ends up being true, we could get huge clues as to Luffy's potential future awakening. And I really hope that it is true. Because aside from the idea that these are just the capabilities of his very unique class of Devil Fruit, which is a Logia but not really, or awakening, you have some crazy ideas such as this Katakuri that we see here isn't the real Katakuri. And so I'm going to be real with you guys, I hate these speculations, not because I don't think that they're not viable at all, but I really just hope that the Katakuri that we see is the real one, that he's not like some sort of dwarf sitting within a Mochi body, that his only capability of his Devil Fruit is actually production of Mochi, and he uses that to create a facade similar to such that Cracker did in the past of Whole Cake Island. Or perhaps he's not even there at all, that this is just a Mochi clone that he has created similar to Doflamingo using strings to create a clone of himself, and the real Katakuri is just somewhere else. But guys, despite my distaste in this particular train of thought, not that I don't think that it could be awesome, but I definitely would prefer it otherwise, I do think that there is reason to question if this is the case after reading the last chapter more carefully. I was reading it, and then I noticed something really strange. Why didn't Luffy use Haki? Because we can see in the very last chapter that Luffy straight up punches Katakuri, and these punches leave little holes in his Mochi body. But then, if this is the case and this didn't injure Katakuri, then we must assume that Luffy did not use Haki. I'm sure creative people out there could find other ways to potentially rationalize this, but as far as what we know about Haki and how it works, then by using Haki and attacking someone whose body is not composed of a normal substance, you should be able to injure them. If Katakuri wasn't injured, then Luffy didn't use Haki, and if Luffy didn't use Haki, why? And so guys, this gets even more confusing when you look at Luffy's own reactions from the last chapter. There's twice where I can pinpoint it, and it seems as though Luffy himself is confused. It's almost as if Luffy is saying to us, there's something very strange about this guy's abilities. Now guys, I really hope that what is actually going on here is that Luffy's memory regarding things related to battle is just above savant level, and that he remembers Jinbei saying that Katakuri was a paramecia, so he went in there with not using Haki under the premise that his attacks would work, and is finding himself confused to see Katakuri having a body made out of a substance that isn't effective to punches. So basically, Oda is highlighting, or is about to highlight, what special paramecia means about Katakuri, and sort of emphasizing that through Luffy's confusion about his attacks not working. But despite me wanting to believe this, guys, I just gotta be real with you. Under what circumstances would you ever not use Haki? I just cannot envision that being a smart move. Certainly Oda could pull it, but theoretically or realistically speaking here, I think Luffy should always be using Haki against anyone who matters, specifically someone as strong as Katakuri. He's already confronted Katakuri, he knows how strong he is, so I'm left wondering if the thing that Luffy is punching is just a mochi shield. Which is why Haki isn't working and Luffy is confused. And so guys, if Oda makes Katakuri actually be a small man, perhaps the size of someone like Stroizen, inside of this mochi body, which looks like what we currently perceive Katakuri to look like, first I will laugh, and then I'll be pretty sad, honestly. I do like Katakuri the way he is, but I definitely think that you should open your mind to the possibility of something like this occurring. Some might say that this is impossible because we saw Ichiji split Katakuri in half, but we also saw in the Dressrosa arc, Usopp split Treble in half. And Treble obviously has a Paramecia type Devil Fruit, which only allows him to produce mucus, so you just kind of have to believe that he shifted his body within the mucus to avoid Usopp's attack, which could be something that a small Katakuri could do within the Mochi Shield, sort of shift his position, very similar to Magellan's attack, Venom Road. But I honestly hope, if this is actually some sort of Mochi Shield, is that it's more of like a clone along the lines that Doflamingo used. That essentially, Katakuri using his abilities created a Mochi version of himself that is identical to himself, and he is just hiding somewhere. Or maybe Oda does something completely new and original that we could have never seen coming regarding Katakuri. I mean, I've never heard of a special Paramecia before him, so this opens the door to possibilities beyond our expectations. But yeah, I just felt like this was worthy of sharing with you guys because I noticed it and it honestly baffles me. But let me know what you think. Let me know if you agree or disagree and why. Share your thoughts. Like the video if you like the video, dislike the video if you dislike the video. Subscribe if you want to be notified for my future content. And as always guys, have a wonderful day.